Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is beating the drum. Drumming creates a rhythm and a wave, a field of energy on which messaging is transmitted. And we're going to look today at how are beating the drum and the beat of the drum can be a vehicle, metaphorically, maybe literally, for planetary shift of awareness and consciousness. So before we begin, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And this time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, and creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together, vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the motion, the pressure, the temperature, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that is the vehicle through which you experience all of life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good to be with you this morning. Welcome, Rosalind. Welcome, Gia. So good to be with you and everybody else who's joining us. So this morning's topic is beating the drum. And I wanted to talk about this both literally and figuratively or metaphorically, beating the drums, sharing the message, holding the heartbeat, keeping the rhythm, holding to the evolving and emerging message of potential and possibility. And as we live into a rapidly changing and challenging world, the conversation today is to strengthen our resolve to continue beating the drum of connection and connectivity and possibility and unification, unity, that the rhythm of the drum has its strength in its continuity, that holding that rhythm, continuing that rhythm, it's creating a field, it's creating a resonance and giving us a heartbeat, essentially, that we can attune to and align with. And we get to beat that drum. We get to be the rhythm that others will entrain to. When you have two tuning forks and you activate one of those tuning forks, the other tuning fork in proximity to it will start resonating. And when we hold a frequency. This is a hypothesis, but I'm putting it out there that when we hold a frequency, others attune to or entrain to that frequency. And so if we're able to elevate that frequency, then it's drawing others also to elevate their frequency. And as we need to continue, we need to be persistent in beating that drum of possibility, in holding the rhythm that is steady, constant, and admittedly, sometimes we fall out of rhythm and we get to recalibrate and come back to that space. You know, we could also be using the analogy of light bearers, you know, that we get to carry the light, and sometimes maybe that light gets obscured, and sometimes maybe it even seems that it's been extinguished, but in fact it's not. It's just needs to be rekindled. It just needs to be, maybe the fire needs to be fed a little bit and reignited. So this is about holding hope, holding possibility, holding potential, sometimes unreasonably in the face of circumstance, sometimes beyond reaction to circumstance, transcending circumstance, to be holding for unity, to be holding for love, to be holding for connection, that we can beat that drum. And what happens is, as that drum beat resonates outward, it just keeps going. It keeps going. It's like the light of stars from eons away takes forever to travel, but it has traveled through the universe to reach us. And the drum beat is something that keeps going, and it travels, it travels, it travels. And so we can collectively drum, and sometimes it feels like we're beating that drum in isolation. But just imagine the vibration, the frequency of that sound reaching out into the universe, and the rhythm of your drum and my drum and the drums of all of us who are holding for possibility. The rhythm, the sound waves unite and strengthen and create a wave that just keeps propagating outward and inward. And yeah, I love the image. I love the image of us beating the drum and training to one another in this ever-growing field of possibility and potential. So maybe it's the drum of peace, maybe it's the drum of unity, unification. It's actually in my mind's eye, whether, I mean, it could be a literal drum, certainly, but it's holding this internal rhythm, and as we are more connected to the internal rhythm of a hopefulness, like a wise hopefulness, then we're propagating that into the world and amplifying it in the world, and the world needs that. right now. All of us need it, all of the creatures, all of the beings on the planet. And as we're approaching the 4th of July, which is meant to represent liberty, we can look at what our personal liberty means. What does it mean to be free? Is it a function of circumstance, or is it a function of being? And as we look at what it might be for it to be a function of being, how does that show up? What defines freedom? I guess that's really tomorrow's topic, right? But this notion of collective awareness and how we can share that awareness, that awakening. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of it. Sometimes it's hard to express it. Sometimes it's hard to put it out into the world. And what we do in those moments is, again, reconnect to that heartbeat, that drumbeat within us, and use that for alignment, that we can attune to the beating of our own hearts. And as we attune to the beating of our own hearts, then that is amplified, that rhythm, that connection is amplified outward as well, until we can come up into a space where we can externally propagate, where we can maybe beat the external drum, where we can share the message, when we can emanate the clarity, the wholeness, the unity that is possible for all of us. And as it becomes, as I become more present to it in me, I become more present to it in you. And because we project outward, don't we? You know, our experience of the external world is so much a reflection of our internal world. And as we connect, as we presence ourselves more deeply to unity, to oneness, to connection, then the world becomes a place of greater unity, oneness, and connection, because that's what we see. So if that's how we're being, that's what we see, that's what gets promoted outward. And sometimes it occurs to me that sometimes on that path, what we see is the opposite. What we see is the lack of exactly what we're emerging into. I was reading a wonderful book, and the title eludes me sometimes, so I'm just gonna check in and give you the title. And it's by Nina Simons, who's one of the founders of Bioneers. And I'm going to have the privilege of interviewing her for Sustainability Now soon. The book is called Nature, Culture, and the Sacred: A Woman Listens for Leadership. It's a beautiful, beautiful book, and really reflects so much of what we talk about together in these calls, or in these mornings together. But she was talking about the changing that is, or the changes, the transformation that's happening in the world. And the metaphor was of a dragon flailing its tail, doing as much destruction as possible as as it was dying, as it was passing into a new era, that was the patriarchal domination, control kind of structure passing. And part of this passing is the crumbling happening from the rhythm of the new drum beat. And it's not that it's a new drum beat, actually, it's an ancient drum beat that is being revived, I think. You know, this deep, deep, deep connection that is as old as we are, maybe older, you know, the rhythm of the universe that we have the capacity to connect with by silencing ourselves, but not silencing ourselves, but by being present to the silence in ourselves, to finding that place of quiet. And within that quiet, then there is the drum beat, the beat of the heart, the rhythm of life, that as we connect to it more deeply, guides us and directs us and connects us. And I just want to express the deep gratitude that I have for all of you who engage in these conversations and inquiries, who are willing to look, who are willing to risk connecting on the level of being that allows us to hold a vision, oftentimes against evidence. Rosalind says, cocooning to emerge as a new being. Exactly. It's inward, outward, inward, outward. It's the breath. That's what the beat is also, the heartbeat, the breath, the inhale, the exhale. And so we cocoon and emerge, cocoon and emerge. It's a rhythm. It's a rhythm of contraction and expansion, contraction, expansion, emergence. And potentially with each breath is change. With each breath is evolution. We move forward into our new expression. And each breath can create a renewal and an evolution, a revolution. Each breath brings us more into being, potentially, where we can open more deeply to life in its purest expression, where we can be the vehicle of that expression, where we not only generate the drum beat or the heartbeat, but we are that. And in being that, we're creating the rhythm of the universe. We're recreating or aligning with or amplifying that rhythm. So drums have been used to communicate messages, not just to align us with ourselves, but to communicate messages. And we get to choose that message in the rhythm that we are, each individually and collectively. We get to choose those messages. And sometimes it means marching to the tune of a different drum, right? Sometimes the rhythm of our drum might not be the same as the collective rhythm. In fact, that's really what is happening, is that the new rhythm or the old ancient rhythm is emerging, re-emerging. And it creates a cacophony sometimes with the prevailing rhythms, right? And it's interesting for us all to be living in this time of massive transition and what often looks like chaos. And in the moments when the chaos threatens to overtake, or we feel threatened by the chaos overtaking, we can bring ourselves back to that heartbeat, to the rhythm, to connection with the heartbeat of the planet, of nature, rather than the noise of the city, right? We can, the city has its rhythms too, but they're very different. They're very different from the primal rhythms that are our essence, that are the rhythms of life and emergence. And I'm just thinking of selective hearing, how when we're really deeply engaged in something, sometimes we don't hear what's going on around us. We don't see what's going on around us. And we're just so deeply tuned in to where our focus is being placed. And maybe this time calls for that greater focus of or on potentials, possibility, wise hope. I say wise hope because there's a kind of hope that is really just wishful thinking, or pleading, or fairy tales, versus wise hope, which is recognizing the pain of the present where it exists, and knowing based on the bigger picture that more is possible. That there's, it's not a balloon, a helium balloon kind of hope. It's more roots of the tree kind of hope, or the hope of a seedling that actually has the life force bound so tightly and deeply into it that when it bursts forth, it is harnessing the hope of life itself. That this is what's available to us. This is what the drumbeat is. That life goes on. Life continues. It may look very differently, but life continues, and we have the ability to direct things. This is the wise hope, or my hypothesis anyway, that we have the ability to direct things when we can keep beating the drum of connection, unity, awakening, that despite unfathomable challenges, there is the possibility that we can turn things around. It may be faint, But by beating that drum, we create a wave of potential. We create an energy on which our intentions can be carried and carried to the furthest reaches of the universe. And I invite you who share in these conversations to continue to beat that drum, to presence yourself to that heartbeat, to be willing to hold that hope in a world that might look like it's trying to crush it, but to, in full recognition of the challenges we face, to hold out for life, to beat the drum of life. And that drum beat holds a power beyond our reckoning, beyond our understanding, beyond our knowing. And when we align with it, we amplify it. So let's do that. Let's do that together. And that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live each weekday morning here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living. And in deepest, deepest, deepest gratitude to you, I so appreciate our time together, and so much love.